So, hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope all of you are doing very well. So, in today's video, we are going to talking about bar graph. IELTS Writing Task 1 bar graphs, data reporting and band 7 plus strategy. Before we start, I want to all of you to understand one thing very clearly. Task 1 is not about advanced English. Task 1 is about structure, clarity and reporting data. Many students write grammatically correct English but still remain stuck in band 6. Why? Because they do not understand what to write, do not know how examiner thinks, and don't know how to expand data properly. So today's video I'm learning and I'm teaching you to how to think like an IELTS examiner, and this question is based on marriage and divorce rate in USA. So, marital status of adult Americans and two bar chart here is a past data. So, tense, comparison, grouping, everything matters here. So, now relax and listen carefully and imagine this is a real classroom. So, first we start introduction. So, now here we start the introduction for this one. So, keep practicing and keep pen and paper for your writing introduction. So start the writing here, the bar chart, the chart below gives information about USA marriage and divorce rates between 1970 and 2000, and the marital status of adult Americans in 2 of the year. Yes. So here is our body paragraph and introduction. So the charts below give information about USA marriage and divorce rates between 1970 and 2000, the marital status of adult Americans in 2 of the years. Here is a marriage and divorce. Blue line is for marriage and orange line is the divorces, and here is a years like blue is a 1970 and 2000 in green. So marriage and divorce in millions and marital status of adult Americans. So here is our bar chart. So we to pause here. This paragraph is a first impression of the examiner. The examiner is hundreds of answers daily. Within 10 seconds they decide is this student clear or not. Does this student understand the chart? Does this student understand the chart? Is the structure correct? Is the structure correct? And this introduction answer all 3 questions. So the charts below give information. This is a natural reporting phrase and no opinion, no judgment. USA marriage and divorce rates. It is a clearly defined the topic, and between 1970 and 2000, this is a tell the examiner past data, fixed time period, past tense must be used, and marital status of adult Americans in 2 of the years. That means this introduction the second chart, and in 2 of the years this paraphrase the examiner for comparison, not trends over time. So if your introduction is confusing, your pen drop immediately. This is the introduction is soft, clear and exam friendly. So now we move to paragraph number 2. So paragraph number 2 is from the set of charts, the first graph illustrates millions of marriages and divorces in USA between 1970 and 2000 here, whereas the second chart explain the percentages. Is it right? Percentages of adult Americans, A capital, right? Americans in 4 types of martial status in the mentioned 2 years, right? Let's do something right and review and full screen, right? Is it visible clearly? Yes. So from the set of charts, the first graph illustrates millions of marriage and divorces in USA between 1970 and 2000, whereas the second chart explains the percentage of adult Americans in 4 types of marital status in the mentioned 2 years. So it is a body paragraph 1. So I will explain. This paragraph is doing a very intelligent job. Many students skip this step and directly jump into the numbers. That is a big mistake. So here the writer first organizes information. Notice the structures like the first graph illustrate, the second chart explains, and this tells the examiner, I understand that there are 2 different visuals. So also notice millions, not quantity units, percentage is a proportion unit, and this avoid confusion. The word whereas is extremely important. It shows a contrast between 2 charts, no data. IELTS examiner loves a clarity and more than complexity. So these paragraphs improve coherence, logical flow, and reorder comfort. So this is our body paragraph 1. From the set of charts, the first graph illustrates millions of marriages and divorces in USA between 1970 and 2000, whereas the second chart explains the percentage of adult Americans in 4 types of marital status in the mentioned 2 years. So now our body paragraph 1 is complete, and then start is our body paragraph 2. First is our introduction, and now let's move to body paragraph 2. So focusing on the on the former, focusing on the former graph, it is evident that between 1970 and 2000 more marriages happened compared to divorces. That is 2.5 million weddings. 2.5 million weddings were registered in the 70s and 318s. So, however, these numbers declined slightly. These numbers declined slightly, and these numbers declined slightly by the new millennium to around 2 million. Around 2 million coincidentally, there were fewer divorces in 1970s, 1990 and 2000, like in bracket 1 million each year. 1 million each year. 1 million each year, and expect for the sudden rise in the divorce rates in 1980 by 0.5 million. 0.5 million is done. So our body paragraph 2 is focusing on the former graph. It is evident that between 1970 and 2000 more marriages happened compared to divorces. That is 2.5 million weddings were registered in 70s and 318s. So, however, these numbers declined slightly by the new millenniums to around 2 millions. Coincidentally, there were fewer divorces in 1960 and 1990 and 2000, 1 million each year. Expect for the sudden rise in the divorce rate in 1918 by 0.5 million. So here 1970 to 2000, 1970 to 2000, 70s and 80s, however, three declines, each has a 1 million. So you can see each have a 1 million also. Here in 1917, 1.5 above, 1918 in a 1.5 million, 1919 in 1.25 something, 2.5 something, and 2000 in exact 1 million. So here is across 1 million each year. 1916, 1990 and 2000 in a 1 million each year. So now we move to what is report writing here. Why? So now we move to last paragraph and then conclusion. So we start this concept. Not it is a like explanation is not. First, it is evident. It is evident. Evident, that means this phrase means the trend is a very clear. Marriage and divorces in all years. This is exactly what an overused sentence should do. Now observe how the writer explains marriages. 2.5 million in 1970. Here is a 2.5 million in 1970 marriages declined towards 2000. Declined towards 2000. So this show is a rise and fall. Rise and fall. In 1970, 2.5 million, and in 2000 below 2 millions. So it is a rise. Here is a 1917 a rise and 2000 in a fall. So IELTS loves like rise, fall, fluctuation, stability. Now for divorces, mostly stable at 1 million, expect 1980 in a 0.5 plus 0.5 million plus, and then the word expect is powerful. It shows awareness of expectation traits. The word is a coincidentally. Here is a coincidentally. This word is a link both pattern logically. So never write numbers without meanings and always explain what the numbers show. So here's our body paragraph 2. Focusing on the former graph, it is evident that between 1970 and 2000 more marriages happened compared to divorces. That is, 2.5 million weddings were registered in 70s and 80s. However, these numbers declined slightly by the millennium to around 2 millions, and coincidentally there were fewer divorces in 1960, 1990 and 2000, 1 million each year, except for the sudden rise in the divorce rate in 1980 by 0.5 million. So now let's go to last paragraph. Considering the martial status, the majority of adult Americans were committed supposes in 70% compared to those in 2000, like 60%. What happened? Like 60%, 2000 in 60%. Not the other categories. The other categories had insignificant. The other story had insignificant numbers, that is numbers full stop, that is less than 10%, that is less than 10% of adults who were either widow or divorced. Interestingly, divorced, right? It is a divorce. Interestingly, as I observed, these was a growth in both the years, like that never got married, and these were heading rising in the 70s, which rose to 20% in 2000. These was and divorce. So considering the marital status, the majority of adult Americans were committed, suppose in 70% of, compared to those in 2000, 60%. The others category had significant numbers, that is less than 10% of adults who were either widowed or divorced. Interestingly, as I observed this way, a growth in both the years that never got married, these were heading rising in the 70s, which is a rose to 20% in 2000. So this paragraph discusses percentage, not millions. So always remember, do not mix units, do not confuse charts. So always remember, do not mix units and do not confuse charts. So here we use married people are still the majority, 70% to 60%. This show a decline but dominance. So then the writer smartly groups windowed, here is a windowed, and divorced, divorced, it is a divorced, widowed, divorced, because both are below 10%, there is no need to separate. This show grouping skill, data economy, and logical writing. The most important trend is a never married category increase. These show social change but still writing naturally. So words like interestingly, here considering, then interestingly, growth, rose, these are I-band reporting words. So we have to use that type of words for our I-band score. So here repeat I'm 2000. So there is a 20% in 2000. The 20% in 2000 wild out and divorced. So divorced in 1917 is a below 20% and divorced in above 20%. In widowed in something 30% and 2000 in 40%. So that is we call 20% in 2000 Here is a 20% in 2000 and a 40% in 2000 on window. So now we move to overall, and first, like last time, considering the marital status, the majority of adult Americans were committed supposed in 70% compared to those in 2000 60%. The other category had insignificant numbers, that is less than 10% of adults who were either windows of. Interestingly, as observed, this is a this was a growth in both the years that never got married, and these were heading rising in the 70s, which rose to 20% in 2000. So now we move to last is a overall paragraph. So our overall paragraph is start with overall it can be a second. I have some little words, I will complete that. Overall it can be, just a second, the error, I'm sorry to that, what the happened. VIP reload climb. Now it's done. Now we move to our overall. Our overall is overall it can be concluded that in the period of the mentioned 30 years, the Americans had faith in the institution of marriage and commitment. So here is our overall is over. So overall it can be concluded that in the period of mentioned 30 years, the American had a faith in the institution of marriage and commitment. So here, this is your final impression. This paragraph does not repeating the number. Oh, what happened? Here is a full screen. So this paragraph does not repeat numbers, does not describe charts again, and gives overall meaning like IELTS examiners want big picture understanding. This sentence tell despite changes, marriage remained important, and this is strong self overall conclusion. So our bar graph is a data reporting is a complete, and I am repeating all the introduction and body paragraph. So the chart below gives information about USA marriage and divorce rate between 1970 and 2000, the marital status of adult Americans in two of the years. Here is in the USA, sorry. From the set of charts, the first graph illustrates millions of marriage and divorces in USA between 1917 and 2000, whereas the second chart explains the percentage of adults American in four types of marital status in the mentioned 2 years. So focusing on the former graph, it is evident that between 1970 and 2000, more marriages happened compared to divorces. That is 2.5 million weddings were registered in 70s and 318s. So however, these numbers declined slightly by the new millions to around 2 millions. So coincidentally, there were fewer divorces in 1960, 1990 and 2000, 1 million each year. Expected for the sudden rise in divorces, that's in 1980 by 0.5 million. Considering the marital status by the majority of adult Americans were committed suppose in 70% compared to those in the 2000 in 60%. The other category had significant numbers, that is less than 10% of adults who were either widowed or divorced. So interestingly, as I observed, this was a growth in both the years that never got married. These were heading rising in 70s, which rose to 20% in 2000. Overall, it can be concluded that is in the periods of 30%, in the period of the mentioned 30 years, the Americans had a faith in institution of marriage and commitment. So alright friends, this brought us to end of the today's class. First of all, thank you so much for giving your valuable time and attending this is a full session patiently. I will really appreciate your effort because IELTS preparation requires discipline, consistency and focus, and today you showed all three. In today's class, we carefully learned how to understand two bar graphs, how to write a proper introduction, here is our introduction, and how to explain marital state and percentage, and most importantly, how to think like in IELTS examiners. So remember students, IELTS writing task is not about fancy English, it is about clear structure, correct tense and logical comparison. So and claim explanation of data. If you practice using the same structures we discussed today, and band 7 or above is absolutely possible. So please don't feel demotivated if graph look difficult right now. Every strong IELTS candidate once felt the same. So practice one graph daily, analyze before writing and focus on trends, not fears. So improvement will come step by step. So call to action button for YouTube. If today class helped if even you little bit, so please like the video, share with your friends, and preparing for IELTS, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future classes. Thank you so much and like the video.